nice outfit.
When I grow up, I'm going to Mars.
The Earth isn't flat.
On that.
Some people know how far they want to go. A personalized financial strategy can help you get them there. See how access to JP Morgan investment expertise can help you. Chase, make more of what's yours.
I definitely look up to my sister. She has a lot of great things that I can learn from, and I think she's an awesome older sister. Ow. Thank you, Mimi. Kimberly is my best friend. She's never going to be replaced.
Hi, I'm Noah. I'm in 2nd grade. Could you show a somersault right now?
We saw some videos of people doing weather balloon launches online. We thought that it would be a really fun family project to do. They're used to see what the weather is going to be.
So they send up different instruments attached to the bottom of the weather balloons. There are 16,000 weather balloons launched every day around the world. There are 16,000 weather balloons launched every day around the world. There are 16,000 weather balloons launched every day around the world. The weather companies, the forecasters, only recover 30% of them. The other 70%
Are still floating in space.
no, they're not.
Well,
They're still
popped.
somewhere.
They're somewhere in the earth.
Try not to interrupt me.
The world of tomorrow and the instruments of science which are shaping it may seem remote and fantastic, but yesterday's fantasies are becoming today's facts. How will these great advances influence and benefit our personal lives? Here in this film is an answer. Sweeping through an eternal vacuum, through blazing heat and bitter cold, exposed to mysterious radiation, man-made satellites circle the Earth. Traveling at fantastic speeds, these eyes in outer space give us knowledge for future exploration, and also vital information that will lead to a better understanding of one of nature's great forces, the weather.
There are 16,000 weather balloons launched every day around the world. There are 16,000 weather balloons launched every day around the world.
The Soviets had experimented with creating artificial aurora. Not sure what their objective was, but I think it was probably designed to prove that you could project very low frequency energy over the horizon, over great distances, and cause certain effects.
Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with your television set. This is a Pixie Bell. The sound is much too high for human ears. Oh, there you are, Tink. Hey, get that stuff off of me. If you're familiar with the story of Peter Pan, you know that a little sprinkling of Tinkerbell's fairy dust can make you fly. Tink, wait a minute. Haven't you forgotten something? Aren't you going to take the audience along?
Advanced scientific devices for gathering data continuously over long periods of time, not only from the atmosphere, but from space beyond. Artificial satellites. Satellites reach into the unknown with instruments that duplicate man's own senses.
That balloon will soon be hurtling across the sky 1,000 miles high over North America. That balloon will soon be hurtling across the sky 1,000 miles high over North America.
In the Cascade Mountains of Washington, the Navy opens the world's largest radio transmitter. Its 1 million watts can flash a message around the world in 1/10 of a second. A ship or installation anywhere on the globe can be instantly reached from Radio Jim Creek, as the station is known. Built at a cost of $14 million, the station embodies the last word in radio transmission and is a giant step forward in the Navy's network of communications.
The biggest thing that Jim Creek does is we provide operational command and control communications for Pacific submarine fleet. Jim Creek was established and built in the late 40s, early 50s. It was one of several sites across the U.S. that was surveyed for this specific type of an array between two mountains. It was the best spot out of about 13 other spots. At the time, it was the world's largest transmitter. Where we're at right now, we get coverage across the entire Pacific Ocean, into the Indian Ocean, and back across the continental United States and into the Atlantic. So because of where we're located at, and the footprint that we get across the world is one of the reasons why Jim Creek is still around.
Used to be, you could trust what you heard. The channels were three. When the news didn't seem so absurd, the words set you free.
Closely following the recovery of the Discoverer capsule at Cape Canaveral, another historic satellite is ready for launching. Once aloft, the inflatable balloon satellite, the height of a 10-story building, immediately proved its worth by bouncing from its surface a recorded talk by the President from New Jersey to California.
This is the satellite, a huge empty balloon, here shown while still in its hangar. The inflated balloon is 10 stories high, made of a strong, new aluminized plastic. Strong, yet only half as thick as the cellophane around a package of cigarettes. Its aluminum coating gives it nearly 100% reflectivity. That balloon will soon be hurtling across the sky 1,000 miles high over North America. Yes, these men know why they are on this New Jersey hilltop. But others may wonder, even if it works, so what? Who cares about bouncing messages off a space balloon? What's the practical good of it? We can telephone almost any place in the world today. Thanks to ocean cables, we can talk overseas as if to the phone next door. This year, about 3 million messages will be transmitted across the Atlantic. But 10 years from now, it is predicted there will be 21 million messages. More facilities will be needed. And there are the polar regions where severe atmospheric conditions make radio reception difficult. Here, particularly, the military need for alternate communication systems is great.
Echo 1 foreshadows a new era in global communications when a chain of sister satellites will closely link all parts of the globe.
Powerful microwave transmitters carry telephone calls over barren and open spaces. These systems will always serve us well. But today, as scientists look ahead, they foresee great gaps in our worldwide communications unless more and different systems can be devised. For instance, we would like to see live television programs, history in the making from all over the world. But TV broadcasting presents a special problem. One TV channel requires the space of almost 1,000 telephone circuits. This requirement is simply too expensive for present systems. And even if this problem could be licked today, what about tomorrow? For many years now, Bell Laboratories scientists have been looking ahead to satellites for communication. We are already capable of building a satellite equipped with operating receivers and transmitters which could be made to operate at a much greater height than a simple reflector balloon like that in Project Echo. The higher you go, the greater the portion of Earth in range of the satellite, and the fewer you need to circle the globe. A worldwide communication system of satellites like this has already been outlined by the Bell system. The plan envisions several strings of equipped satellites, altogether about 50 of them, orbiting at a height of about 3,000 miles. As the one you were using moves out of range, you would switch to the next one coming along, and so on. And if you wanted to send, say, a telephone message or a television program to some area not covered by any single satellite, the signals might be bounced from transmitter to satellite, back to Earth, up to a second satellite, and down to the destination. That way, you could maintain continuous transmission of telephone calls and television programs to various parts of the Earth. But scientists have conjectured even far beyond this. Perhaps someday it will be possible and worthwhile to put up a precisely positioned satellite 22,300 miles out, which at that distance would revolve in step with the Earth and would seem always to hang in the same place in the sky. If it became possible to put 3 such satellites in orbit, together they could cover the Earth. But this high orbit 22,000-mile system is at best far in the future. As scientists wait in New Jersey and California, today's experimental balloon satellite, the pioneer of worldwide space communications, is already up in the sky, 1,000 miles high, on its first 2-hour orbit around the Earth, hurtling through the vacuum of outer space. A 1,000 miles high, on its first 2-hour orbit around the Earth, hurtling through the vacuum of outer space.
Now they tell you what to think and that the sky is
ready to relay telephone signals between powerful transmitters and receivers as far apart as New Jersey and California. The men in both locations know that when and if it does arrive, they will have approximately 15 minutes to bounce their messages from coast to coast off its surface. For in 15 minutes it will have swept across the United States and be out of range. These men well know the complicated chain of events that is a natural part of missiles and space operations. This guidance system was designed by Bell scientists, the same system that meets the precise target demands of the Titan intercontinental ballistic missile. Its job here is to put the Echo satellite in orbit with pinpoint accuracy. Will it? That is the question these men ask themselves as they finish monitoring the guided portion of the missile's flight. And will the balloon, squeezed into a 26-inch sphere, release okay? Will it inflate properly or burst into fragments?
It's hard to perceive it. Shake your head and scream, but there's no sound.
High in the sky, the 3rd stage burns out. The payload section separates from the engine. The protective shell springs apart, releasing the balloon. Floating clear, the balloon is inflated by a chemical powder which instantly vaporizes in the vacuum of outer space. The men won't know it for some time yet, but balloon inflated and in orbit. Dell is in constant touch with Goldstone by an open telephone line. The first actual transmission bounced off a man-made satellite will be from tape recordings. Goldstone has just reported they have picked up the balloon. A pinpoint in the sky, 100 feet wide, 1,000 miles out in space. Like trying to locate a golf ball a mile away.
We have it now, Bill. Good. Let's hope we can keep it. The signal looks good, Luke. Tracking looks good, too. Let's see how Goldstone is doing. Hello, Goldstone. This is Homedell. We're getting your signal. How are you receiving ours?
Strong and steady, Bill.
Fine, fine. Okay, here we go. We're going to start our tape now, and you start yours.
President Eisenhower speaking. It is a great personal satisfaction to participate in this first experiment in communications involving the use of the satellite balloon known as Echo.
They are determined to keep America well ahead in the field of communications. And today they are looking, as all humanity looks, to the vast potentials of outer space.
50 years ago, NASA launched its first communication satellite, Echo 1. Made from mylar polyester film and measuring about 100 feet across when fully deployed, the balloon-shaped spacecraft was designed as a passive communications reflector for transcontinental and intercontinental telephone, radio, and television signals. During orbit, a special recorded message from President Dwight Eisenhower was bounced off Echo 1 and picked up by radio operators across the nation.
This is President Eisenhower speaking. It is a great personal satisfaction to participate in this first experiment in communications.
Echo's success proved that microwave transmission to and from satellites in space was understood and demonstrated the promise of communication satellites. Echo 1 re-entered the atmosphere on May 24, 1968.
Upside down. It's all a big lie. Something soon that could shoot up the town. They won't be denied.
Would you trust a spacecraft that inflated like a balloon? Because NASA might be doing just that. Hey everybody, welcome to your weekly DNews Space Update. I'm Trace. Space stations conjure up images of giant cylindrical machines flying 180 miles above the Earth, but that's so limited. Space stations could be so much more than this. What if we could inflate one? Picture this. Which would be easier to pack into a rocket? A folding chair or an inflatable one? The parts of the ISS currently in orbit are limited by the size of the rocket on which they were launched. This means because they're all made like solid metal canisters, they end up being about 4.5 meters across. But if you could pack them smaller and then blow them up in space, who knows how big they could get. This idea itself isn't new. 55 years ago, NASA was exploring a donut-shaped inflatable space station as a base for human exploration of the solar system, and to study the long-term ability for our species to survive in the harsh environment of outer space. Their design was built by Goodyear Aircraft Corporation, so unsurprisingly, maybe it kind of looked like a giant tire. It would be deployed and then inflated, and the astronauts could have lived inside of it safely. But what some of you have probably already figured out is space isn't exactly empty. It has micrometeoroids. Micrometeoroids weigh less than a gram but can travel 10 kilometers per second, which is not great for balloon spacecraft, because if this and other issues, the program never got off the ground. Pun intended. Instead, NASA went with less unstable, foldable metal canister designs. That being said, there are people who never gave up on inflatable spacecraft and have already launched prototypes. Bigelow launched the Genesis 1 in 2006 and 2 the following year, and though they were both half the size of the ISS modules, they were lighter and cheaper to launch. In fact, Genesis 1 was the lowest cost mission of its kind in history. Back in the 60s, the fabrics weren't advanced or light enough to protect the astronauts economically. You can't just coat it in rubber or vinyl. The invention of bulletproof fabrics like Kevlar prompted NASA to give inflatables another shake. Bigelow's newest project, BEAM, or the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, is made of many layers of a proprietary fabric called Vectran, which is similar to Kevlar but made of spun liquid crystal fibers, and Nomex, a fabric used in fire-resistant suits. Thanks to the non-rigid skin and strong fabric layers, micrometeoroids should just bounce right off. Plus, since it's inflatable, it's smaller. Well, at least at launch. But the kicker to all this is the weight. It's not just that BEAM works, but it does it for less. The US-built Harmony module, attached to the ISS back in 2007, is similar in size to the BEAM, but it weighs 14,288 kilograms, whereas the BEAM weighs a measly 1,360. That is a tenth of the weight for the same size module. This is game-changing. The weight is a huge chunk of the cost of putting something into space. In the end, NASA was finally convinced, and in 2015, SpaceX's Falcon 9 mission will carry a beam to be attached to the ISS. Now Bigelow is setting their sights on their BA-330, an even larger module with 330 cubic meters of interior space. That is half of a Boeing 747. If they launch 2 of these alone, they'd have 70% of the size of the entire ISS to date, with 2 launches. Plus, they're modular, so they could also be used on the Moon, Mars, or even at permanent gravitational Lagrangian points around the Earth. I think I can get down with a balloon spacecraft after all. Would you trust an inflatable spacecraft to be your extraterrestrial home? Tell us why or why not in the comments.
Someone help me. How can we believe the world is not? I just can't conceive it.
Huge balloon capsule will take you to space in 2017. The company is now ready to begin full-scale testing in mid-July 2017 and hopes to bring space tourism to the masses at the end of the same year.
High in the Cascade Mountains of Washington, the Navy opens the world's largest radio transmitter. Its 1 million watts can flash a message around the world in 1/10 of a second. A ship or installation anywhere on the globe can be instantly reached from Radio Jim Creek, as the station is known. Built at a cost of $14 million, the station embodies the last word in radio transmission and is a giant step forward in the Navy's network of communications.
So we wanted to know just how much damage could Russia do by cutting undersea cables. First off, chances are high you're watching this video thanks to undersea cables, especially if you live outside of the United States. Undersea cables deliver up to 99% of international communications. The other 1% is served by satellites, but they are considerably slower. For
the first launch, we didn't really have a goal.
We just wanted to get it off the ground.
There is a lot of data that we can learn from.
The first launch went to 78,000 feet. The images were awesome. When we first saw them, we screamed. And then someone from the Washington Post saw it, and so they wrote an article about it.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the White House.
Because this is President Obama.
He was really easy to talk to.
Yeah.
And he was really friendly.
What do you guys have here? We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. It has sister out of Bungity Murph Mouse ban on you. It has sister out of Bungity Murph Mouse ban on you. It has sister out of Bungity Murph Mouse ban on you.
So we built a spacecraft called the Loki Lego launcher, and we sent it up to 78,000 feet.
That's crazy.
He talks to all of these famous world leaders, and he makes decisions that affect the fate of our country. And we're just 9 and 11-year-old girls who did a science project.
If I say that the world is round, someone else says it's flat. Someone else says it's flat. Someone else says it's flat. Says it's flat. It's flat. It's flat. It's flat. That's worth reporting. But you might also want to report on a bunch of scientific evidence that seems to support the notion that the world is round.
They believe rising sea levels don't matter because in their view, the extra water is just going to spill out over the sides of a flat Earth, of a flat Earth, of a flat Earth, of a flat Earth, of a flat Earth. You don't need to be a scientist to know that the Earth is round, to know that the Earth is round, fall to the ground. You could pick 100 different examples of simple things that happen every day that reflect science.
And we need to make clear that those members of the Flat Earth Society, the Flat Earth Society, the Flat Earth Society, the Flat Earth, the Flat Earth, the Flat Earth, the Flat Earth Society are on the wrong side of history, the history are on the wrong side of history.
They must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. Flat Earth Society. Flat Earth Society. Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. Flat Earth Society. Flat Earth Society. Flat Earth Society.
My friends, these people are so out of touch with science. You don't need to be a scientist to know that the Earth is round.
We added an APRS radio tracker, which sent us location and altitude data in almost real time.
However, the APRS might not be very accurate at ground level, so having the GPS unit as well is very helpful.
Did you know the Bexel camera?
Bexel camera? No, I'm not familiar with them.
Because, changing a little bit the subject, if you allow me.
Sure.
This is the system that they use to fake the Google Earth. Because a lot of people believe that it's come from satellites, but we know there is no any satellite out there. So it's called UltraCam. This is a camera composed of many lenses to pick up a lot of information, and that is all by plane. But you know, they make exactly the same. They behave exactly the same that the satellite image supposedly make. These ribbons of images you can see up here. This is also the software, and it's a company. This is the name of the company. It's around the plane. It has in China, in Ecuador, in Argentina, in United States, in Europe. They are all synchronized. So they pick up the image via plane. You can see here. Then the software automatically arrange all the ribbons of image. They processing, they elevate the data, they produce all these kind of information to then sell to customers. They combine with street views and all that kind of stuff, and that is our Google Earth system, for example. I show this because a lot of people believe that if it's not any satellite out there, how you make the image from the ISS or from the Google Earth, and it's all drone bases.
Yeah,
it's all plane and drones, nothing more. That is why all the altitudes are all the same. The altitude showing from the ISS and the altitude showing for a plane are all the same, and they have all this technology from decades ago. If you know the Intelsat satellites, they use all the same video feed. For example, these are the name of the rockets. For example, 2014, 2015, 16, and they show us the same footage in all these launches. This is the French company. So they.
Wow.
Yeah, that's.
You can check for yourself.
Yep.
And it's the same. So they are at this, they are very relaxed because they have indoctrinated so much that they can do everything they want.
Yep.
And this is the real satellite. The real satellite are fabricated, but then this is the launch. The launch is in a balloon. And when they make the show, they show us this kind of footage, and then they show us these little parts, and they come back to CGI and ready, end the show, pay me. There you have. It's all the same footage. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yep, absolutely is. Well, yeah, and they did that with a lot of the shuttle footage too, and that's one thing I noticed on Clues Forum, where they were using the almost identical takeoff footage on different missions, absolutely the same, from bugs, that were flying in front of the lens and everything like that. But nobody's going to scrutinize that, and they know that they have people indoctrinated enough that they're just going to accept it sight unseen. So this is no surprise that this happens. Absolutely amazing finds here, Ira.
And we had our hypothesis that as our spacecraft went higher, we would have more solar current, because we thought that since there's less particles in the air, it wouldn't block the sun's rays. We couldn't believe that it actually went 101,000 feet.
Columbo, the world she's flat. The world that she's around.
I hope that more kids, especially girls, follow paths and do projects like ours in STEM. And I hope that our projects teach them that they can do whatever they want.
Next, we'll drop the I Me document out of the picture, except for the items that were used to create the Obama birth certificate.
I think we screamed again.
Our current data was really interesting because our solar panel was producing more current as the altitude was going up, which indicated that our hypothesis was correct.
Getting something correct, especially when you don't know that much about the subject, always feels good.
This country is going straight to hell.
Seems weird to me. When I look at the press conference and I see Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins nervous and weird and obviously like being deceptive after they came back.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter.
This is what we see every time you look out, a flat horizon. A lot of people will maintain, I've seen the curve from an airplane. Airplanes fly at 37,000 feet, around 7 miles up. Have you seen the curve from 7 miles up? How did this V2 rocket in 1946 not see the curve from 65 miles up?
You're spinning, and I'm spinning, and the Earth is spinning, and the sun is spinning, and the solar system is spinning. Everything is spinning.